T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Launch Sequence Podcast. We're back for another week. We're back to talk about space games. Once again, this time with some Star Citizen. Although the Expanse did just go into beta, so check that out if you haven't gotten to see it. But today, I have brought on a classic, a legend, a regular who we haven't been able to catch up in a while.
He's calling me old.
Yes, the oldie but goodie XeroState has joined me for the show. Talk about blueprints, because there are some pretty big changes coming to them. Not only are we getting ship components, weapons, and industrial items actually craftable in 4.8, item recovery on the ship side is coming in so that people are going to get more loss and be able to reclaim stuff. It's just like quite a bit going into this, but crafting itself has landed quickly and they're iterating on it quickly. So I wanted to talk about, is it getting too real too fast as blueprints become account bound and things start moving faster than people were really, we've been used to. Thank you for joining me though today, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Like we talked about before the podcast a bit, but like any day above ground is a decent day,
Yeah.
Can't be that bad. So
gotta be times like these, gotta be grateful for just waking up and having a normal
that's right.
job.
Yep, got my health,
Yeah.
Don't have a wealth, but that's okay.
Give up the wealth for the health. Well, thanks for joining me, dude. How has Star Citizen been treating you lately?
Honestly, pretty good. There's always issues you can run into, and there's always things that'll frustrate you. You want more of this or less of this or whatever. But for the most part, like the 4.7 cycle, when I log in, I tend to have some fun. It's not like the blow your hair back experience that it has been in some cases where it's log on, jump towns live, like get the crew together. It's going to be action packed, but for me anyway, aside from some 30Ks coming back and things like that, the game's been playing pretty well. Your typical bugs exist as they always do. But I've been having a decent time. Yeah.
Okay. That's about as good a review as you can get for Star Citizen at any given time of the year at the moment. You make a good point. It's nice when there's something going on that's, I don't want to say the meta, but it's sort of just like the hot thing at the moment. You can jump in, you're going to go get some good content from it. Do you think, just jumping really into the deep end right away, do you think that this new Xenothreat that they are bringing in, I don't know if you've seen the details, but do you think it's going to be able to bring that kind of fun back to the game?
Well, I know for a fact that a lot of people are going to want to help Xenothreat because apparently they're trying to kill Wicklow or whatever.
Oh man!
So it's like maybe that wasn't the best. Like it almost feel like when I read it, I was like, "Is this a meme? Like, are they doing this intentionally to like garner the community's support or something?" I don't know, but no, I think it's good to bring narratives and storylines in within reason. I think you have to strike this balance when you're in development of like how much story do we bring in, how much lore do we write while the game is being developed versus how much may that distract from the development and put us into jams later.
Yeah,
because like they want to use Wicklow for a long time, okay, maybe, but let's say that they wrote lore in where Wicklow was captured, killed by Xenothreat, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've worked yourself into a bind. Now you have to create a new character and things like that. There's some dev on the back end of that. So it's not to say that it's the end of the world if something like that were to happen. It's just like you do have to kind of keep that in perspective as a developer. Like we are still making the game. How much do we, detour our lore and kind of weave that web,
right,
during that process and give the players as much fun as you can in the meantime. So I think it's a good idea to keep doing lore missions and things like that. We look back fondly on, most of us look back fondly on things like Xenothreat or even Ninetales Lockdown was a cool narrative, right? Narrative idea. Jumptown, we look fondly, even Jumptown 2.0, we look fondly back on it. And a lot of us wish that it would return and things like that. So Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost always a good thing. So
I'm the Wicklow thing is funny to me, partially because like, yeah, everybody hates Wicklow. We gotta, yeah, let's all band together and strike out against him. But also, it's CIG is like actively getting their community to just openly support the xenophobic terrorists.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it
Like,
is on brand for Xenothreat. Like, if there's this popular, Stanton-based guy in Xenothreat has a history of
oh,
attacking Stanton.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
like, of course, they're gonna target that guy, which makes sense, But
Very
also,
they're not
Xenothreat, hey, Xenothreat, you could go to Nyx and fight the Vandal that are there. Just saying,
a lot of
they're
aliens to
also
fight out there.
aliens.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, there's a whole star systems that have been taken over by aliens that if you
Yeah.
go out and kill them, I bet you'd probably make a lot of money in the process. Like, oh, come on. Why are you attacking Stanton? That's actually a really good
Also,
point.
it's going to be exceptionally hard to kill Wicklow because I'm pretty sure the door to his office is locked, and I'm pretty sure he only has a torso and a head.
Yeah, he's never been seen.
Not easy to kill that guy.
No.
Yeah, not easy to kill that guy.
Float away, disembody, and poof. I do think that
I take ship and stuff and go back to home.
I think there is a conversation to be had about our ability to take sides with factions, because one of the things they mentioned was that they were worried about people going out, taking a mission, shooting somebody wrong, and then suddenly not being able to land at planets. But genuinely, I think almost anybody who has been a fan of Star Citizen for a while is of the thought that we should be able to team up with whoever we are working for and then get the consequences for doing that. I mean, if you do work with
that's
Xenothreat,
generally an accepted thing. I think we just want it all to make sense. Because like right now, not even kidding, you can go into Pyro, you can do missions for headhunters, and you can kill 10,000 CFP. Like you can do missions for headhunters and be their champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can do one mission. It's a mission in the what's the word? It's the other tab of missions, the ones that are like illegal or whatever.
Yeah,
Unsanctioned missions
or something.
There's one mission you can do for CFP, and it totally flip-flops your allegiance. Your rep bar literally goes doop and switches, and now you're working for CFP. And I know CIG did it because they want players to be able to experience both sides and test both sides, of course. But it's still odd, It's still odd that is like you were telling a narrative. We want players to tell their story and to play their game and to tell their narrative with their character. But they can be completely hated by CFP, and like one mission is like, hey, so you want to work for Citizens of Prosperity? And then you can be their champion like 10 minutes later. So
they're like,
it's a bit odd.
Okay, we didn't know you had cookies. Come on back.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're good at this. You killed one headhunter guy.
Oh man.
Give you a blueprint.
Yeah, I hope they figured that out, because some of the things they've said about Reputation have made me a little bit nervous, and especially like the way that a lot of players will just kind of like, a lot of people I think don't realize the game's unfinished, and so they'll come across something that they think is not how the game should be, and they'll talk about how it needs to change, and it's like, well, wait, let's please let them do the thing that's supposed to happen first. And I'm hoping that they just get to that point so that they can actually prove out this concept of Reputation making a difference and being a reward and all that stuff.
I appreciate how hard you worked not to say the words "let them cook," by the way. We were this close, chat.
Let them cook, fam.
Commenters to Zoomer speak. We're this close.
God, I almost dropped into this. Is 6-7 Gen A or Zoomer speak? I don't even know.
I don't know. Yeah.
My resident expert in chat hasn't been around for a little while. I always have to throw some words out at him and see if he cringes and reacts poorly. And I'm like, okay, we're on brand. We're good. That's what the kids are saying. Let's talk about the crafting stuff. So, as I was mentioning, ship components are finally into crafting. Industrial tools, tractor beams, mining. Basically, just about anything that you can use to get an advantage now is going to be able to be gotten with an advantage. On top of that, blueprints are allowing you guys to craft these things. There are plenty of questions around, isn't it going to be too easy to get all the blueprints, all that kind of stuff? But what I want to ask you is as they start to bring blueprints into an event like Xenothreat, which does seem to be implying that they will be account bound, just like the stuff from Supply or Die or the cargo, whatever it was called last September, or even the beginning of this year. It's another one of these things where we get something that is permanently applied to our account and it will be there when the game launches. Do you think that's jumping the gun a little bit? Getting people blueprints this early, does it feel like it's going to start to make them feel less important when the game launches, or like everybody's going to have too many blueprints when the game launches?
I think given the way we currently get uh, crafting materials, yes. But I think it's doable if, let's say, you get a special blueprint. Well, and the other thing too, so there's a lot of facets to it. You can give somebody a blueprint, I think, and it's like, okay, it's not the end. Because here's the reality: we can go to the pledge store and we can buy the whole ship, not the blueprint. We can buy the whole ship and just have that at launch. There's so much precedent for having a powerful thing at launch that one blueprint or 10 blueprints probably isn't gonna, if having an Idris on day one of Star Citizen doesn't sink the ship, which I mean, however CIG does it, I hope it doesn't, then I don't think having a couple of blueprints is going to sink the ship. You know what I mean?
What if you have the Idris blueprint?
Especially if CIG pushes it towards a way where the blueprints are like, crafting the blueprint is the thing, right? Getting the blueprint isn't really the difficult part unless it's something super special or super powerful. Then I think that could be a problem. But I think having the blueprint isn't as much of an issue as, like, let's say that CIG gives you the blueprint and all of the 1,000 quality materials to do it day one. That's a problem, right? Because now you have this huge leg up on everybody else, and it's obvious, and other people just weren't there, so they can't get it, and that's a problem. But at the same time, like, you can buy an Idris and have that day one and show up, to the guy in an Aurora, like that shark from Finding Nemo. Hello. Somebody's gonna get that reference. God, I hope. I'm old, but
yeah, what's Finding Nemo, dude?
Yeah. So it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of, I see more than one side of that, where it's nothing CIG hasn't done before, like giving us a fabricator, right? That's on the account or whatever. But to me, it's more about the gameplay involved with the crafting that I think should stay. Like, if they give you the tools to do it, that I see as a problem. Whereas if they just give you the blueprints to do it, I think that's not as big of a problem, depending on a few things, of course. But
so
we'll have to see what they offer,
What if then in the alpha phase, the blueprints people were earning were account bound? Like, is there a point at which you would say, okay, these people, everybody's getting too many blueprints for this game to not even be out yet?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like it to be. So what I'd like it to be is like cosmetic. You can get, if you give me like some special P4 AR, that's like, you can craft a P4 AR, okay, and you can make a good one, okay, and you can do that day one, okay. P4 AR is pretty common. Day one Star Citizen 1.0, probably just about anybody could probably, could get to a point where they could craft a P4 AR day one. If you just give me one that's like, carbon fiber skinned or something, right? Like, it's not going to change anything on the battlefield. It's just cool, And hopefully by 1.0, tier 0 looting is gone. and if somebody, kills that person, they can take the P4 and get it that way. But yeah, I don't see it as a huge issue as long as there's not like a huge performance difference between like, crafted items, weapons, modules that you could get now versus what you could get later, It would be, I think, good for me if it was like either a power dynamic where it's like you get it's different in a certain way, like it's a certain quantum drive that maybe spools faster but generates more heat, or something like that.
Yeah, some
right?
trade-offs.
Like there's some trade-offs. Or if it was visual, I think that CIG should make cool paints and make those blueprints in game for ships. ships and guns and whatever, right? I mean, right now they just do the whole gun, but they plan to change that to a skin system and armor and stuff like that. So, but yeah, on the other side of it, I go like, I think CIG should give us blueprints for paints for ships, which I know paint is just paint, but whatever, it's a video game.
I agree.
You know, so yeah, I think cosmetics, and I'm a little torn on it, but I think maybe like blueprints that are unique but have trade-offs, you know, so it's just a uniqueness. It's more so than a oh, this is better, you know. I think those would probably be okay to be a Kanban if they chose to go that route. But it kind of remains to be seen. They do have a history of, you know, looking at something and being like, what's the logical answer here? I don't think we should do that necessarily. So we'll see.
My wife has a way of saying that instead of just scratching the ear, some people like to go reach all the way over their head and scratch the ear. And I feel like, yeah, CIG can do that sometimes.
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
a good
what
way
do we need to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's do that extra.
I'm gonna do that for the rest of the podcast now.
I am in agreement on cosmetics for sure. We need to get paints into the game somehow. We need a way to apply. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with hex codes, but it would be really, really nice. I would definitely be crafting all kinds of guns that I don't. Honestly, I think I care more about their cosmetics than their actual gameplay stats right now.
Yeah.
Like, I want to carry a cool gun around.
MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries and MechWarrior Online, I think both have. I think MechWarrior Online did it first, well, for me anyway, where you can, with the hex codes, right? There's like 3 different sections of your mech, for instance.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like paint section A, paint section B, paint section C. And you can change the color of each, and it's like you can watch in real time as like your mech changes colors in different areas and different pieces of metal change color, and you can find something that looks cool and that you like. And I think that'd be cool.
But how would they make money, man? What you gonna do? Customizations out the door? Oh no.
Well, they could. I mean, the simple dumb answer is the meme answer is they could sell it in the pledge store, but I don't know.
Sell mechs on the pledge store.
Your character, like the more you move any color slider, like if you move it this way and then move it back, it uses AUEC each time you move it.
I don't think that if they put paints in the game, either as blueprints or as something you could find and unlock and customize yourself, if you still had to go and find it, I think people would still be buying them on the store. You can make it available in the game and people would still be spending money on it for sure.
Yeah, or just make unique ones for the store. You know, I mean, that's something that, like, I've been saying this for like 3 or 4 years now. Like, if you make a good video game and then you make a good, cool cosmetics for it, you will sell them and you'll make money. I mean, we've seen tons of games do that. Fortnite, granted, Fortnite is not my style of games, not a lot of your guys' style of game. But the fact of the matter is their business model is nuts. They made a game that a ton of people want to play, and they made a ton of cosmetics that cost $2, $3, $4 a piece. And they have made billions of dollars, like tens of billions of dollars in the last couple of years. Like, it's an extremely successful model. Make a good game that people want to play, and then make cool cosmetics that people want to buy. You know, you don't have to sell the ships forever, you know. But
man,
what do I know? I'm just some guy.
That actually makes for the perfect segue into honestly a topic I was not planning on touching on today.
Fortnite, right? You want to talk about Fortnite the rest of the podcast?
Yeah, dude, I really just wanted to switch over to like Fortnite and Apex Legends, dude. Like,
sorry,
how do you slide cancel perfectly so that you can whim wham and up your friend right before they part? I don't know.
When are they going to allow me to build a 2-mile tall tower in Star Citizen that reaches Everest Harbor from Lorville? That's all I want.
Question. That's a good question. And what do I win when I kill everybody else trying to get up it?
That's right. We need Star Citizen should become a battle royale, is what Space Tomato is saying. Space Tomato is saying. You guys should share that to Reddit and
clip it. Oh,
anyway,
man.
All
really
right,
though,
the segue
really though, yeah. I don't even. What was I going to segue? I love segues. The idea of customization in this game, the armor, the ships, all that jazz. there's always kind of a little bit of pushback between like, oh, this style is dipping a little bit too much into what Fortnite people like. It's Call of Duty style versus
Yeah.
we want something that's really hardcore and military and all this stuff. How do you think they've been doing on armor? And now that they've been adding a lot more to the game over the last 2 years.
So I get the idea that they're going with armor. So for anybody who may not know, most of you probably do. The way that armor currently works in the game is it's all alpha gated. So if you have a weapon that does 20 damage per shot, like some of the repeaters and things like that, there are ships that you can't damage. A great example of this is a stock Cutlass Black with stock Gatlings and Panthers on it.
Oh.
That's what it comes with.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I gotta stop you. I meant FPS armor.
Oh, FPS armor. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
No, it's all good.
My bad. So you mean with adding like cosmetics, or what are you talking about?
Yeah, because sometimes they really hit it with the armor, and it gets a lot of a certain group of people who really want to see like that nice crunchy sci-fi stuff.
Like
sometimes, they throw out some armor that's maybe more bright, and people will be the other question, the answer you were giving was actually
Copion horn armor from Wicklow. Yeah, pretty good stuff. I think I don't know on that one, to be honest with you. I mean, on one side, like I get the want for realism, and I get the want for, things to look clean. And I'm that kind of person. Like when I have armor, it's usually like I built myself Morozov armor, right? And I try to find armor that fits and looks kind of sleek and is kind of dark in color. Nothing like super bright. Just because my gameplay tends to be a little bit more combat oriented. CZs or Hathor or bounty hunting or whatever. But at the same time, I do understand the want of a player to be like, I want armor that looks kind of goofy, and I think it looks kind of interesting, and you have to ride that line between interesting and goofy, and I think there are some, in my opinion, there are some armors that have crossed that line into goofy. That being said, there were never that many complaints. I think the same people complaining about like the glowing Wicklow armor, for the most part, are a lot of the same people that would have or did complain when Star Kitten armor came out. It's like, it is dumb, it is goofy, but the odds of you seeing a person like that are higher now, but I think in the future it'll probably be lower.
Oh, hell yeah.
I don't think you'll see a whole, like, when they put it on the pledge store and you had that glowing Copion armor or whatever it was, like you saw a ton of people in it because it was the new thing or whatever, But now that crafting's out, it's like, well, I mean, yeah, you're going to be able to craft stuff like that and maybe make it better or improve it. But you see a lot of people kind of returning to the more either industrial style armor or, combat focused armor, and that's on CIG too, to make gameplay that, kind of encourages that type of armor,
Yeah.
Because it's like if you make Jump Town and it's nighttime, a guy who's wearing the glowing Wicklow armor is going to take it off and put on something that doesn't make him a shining beacon for sniper rifles, So you kind of, there's a little part of it where it's like CIG develops a game where it's worth a player playing with armor that kind of makes sense for the situation, and then at the same time, there has to be room for entertainment and room for enjoyment. And I think it's okay to kind of have, in my opinion, it's it doesn't really affect me to have the other guy wearing glowing armor because it just makes him a better target.
Please wear all the glowing armor.
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. I mean, if you could just, like shine a light on it and it glows brighter, like a glow in the dark watch handle or something.
Soaks up the light.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I think there's room for it, but I think you do have to toe that line a little bit of like, at what point are we doing a disservice to our players, promoting and putting this insanely goofy armor out?
Yeah.
And you do have to keep those in perspective, And at the same time, players that get so into this should be Space Tarkov. Like, dude, if this was Space Tarkov, I don't think the game would last very long. People will disagree with me for saying that. I don't think the game would last very long if it was truly Space Tarkov. I don't think most people really want that. And I know CIG doesn't really want that. So you kind of have to play that balance of like what's really good for the game and what really doesn't matter, So I guess that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, the Space Tarkov idea. I mean, it's obviously a game can last like that, but not at the size Star Citizen's trying to be.
Yeah, not that they want to be. Yeah, they want to be
Yeah.
like the 20-year MMO, you know.
Yeah.
And to get there, at the end of the day, you have to make a lot of players happy. You have to toe that line of like how many players can we make as happy as possible in whatever gameplay or whatever setup citizen that they want to play.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult thing to do. So I don't envy them for that, for sure, because every change they make is going to be criticized by somebody. Every single change that they make, they could be like, I don't know. I don't have a good example, but right, they could make any change.
I mean,
and it would be like they could make a slider that makes your character like bigger and smaller. Like a lot of games have, where it's like you can make your character's body change size, which is generally a good thing, and you don't have to interact with it, and you could just leave it alone and not touch it. And somebody will complain on Spectrum and Reddit about it for some reason. They'd be like, I saw a fat guy walk by in the game and I don't like that, and it ruined my immersion. Or whatever.
It's the money. It's always the money and time that if CIG does something, even if other game studios do it or if it's expected, because it's taken so long and so much money, it's like, okay, well, why are they only just now doing that? Or why are they doing that and not something else? Or why isn't that working? And I do understand that approach, but man, it kind of goes without saying at this point, I think.
I definitely don't envy. So, they have to put their blinders on a little bit. I do think sometimes CIG gets their blinders on and they're like, this is our vision. And then there's like this massive, like, they hear like a distant rumbling of feet of like people coming to picket with signs and be like, this was a bad idea. Like, don't sell blades on the pledge store, And for a while, it seems like they're not going to listen, because it's like, this is our vision. This is what we're going to do. And they tune out all the criticism, And it's like, you can't tune out all the criticism. You have to be open to, logical criticism at the same time. So that's another thing to balance. But
it's like a Obi-Wan moment. They're just like, I feel as if millions of voices just cried out. CCU's disappeared.
That's right. That's right.
You also like mentioned kind of a good point. People want to be goofy. It's like it would be weird if there weren't weird armors running around all the time. And then on top of that, we don't have any stats on armor. So like you said, nobody really cares about wearing armor where it's supposed to be worn. It's kind of a non-issue at this point, I think.
I think for the most part, I do understand some of the critique of it, where like occasionally it's like, for me, it's the thing is like, you can get it in the game, or you can spend $12.99. And I'm like,
yes.
And the other part of it is like, if you can spend $12.99 and get something that you can't get in the game, that is, especially if it is like better, Like the fact that CIG has, or maybe still does, sell a P6LR sniper rifle on the pledge store is just
I hate that.
I hate that so much. You can have the best, arguably the best sniper rifle in the game, minute 1, forever, because it's stuck to your account, and it's like, I've just never liked that. And I know I said earlier, like, you can buy an Idris, right? And I get that, but like, there's no running cost with a P6LR. Like, you just shoot things with it.
It really feels like it comes down to the balance of being able to get these things, but also how much it takes to make them or upgrade them. Like, you can buy a P6LR on the store, but it'll suck compared to basically anybody in the game who cares about their gameplay is making.
And then you kind of go like, did they do a disservice to all the people that bought it because they offered it, And it's like, well, that's kind of lame too.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what happens if you have a P6LR that you bought on the store? Can you upgrade that to be as good as the other ones through crafting? Like, maybe, I don't know.
Doesn't sound like it, to be honest. And I honestly, dude, I'm here for that. I never thought that you should have an advantage because you spent money, and I'm really sorry to people who feel that way. I'm not trying to attack their own personal view, but I never.
You're clip farming at this point.
Just freaking rage baiting, bro. Let's go.
Baiting, yes.
Poke me up, post me all over Twitter. Yeah.
The thumbnails are going to be glorious.
Ow, it just cracked my jaw with the
I heard
Facebook.
that.
Yeah, that
I
hurt.
heard that through the mic.
That's how surprised I was. Put that on the thumbnail. Jaw cracking surprise. But it's genuinely, I think a lot of people. Yeah, I forgot my train of thought.
I hate that.
What
Happens
were we
to me all
even?
the time. We were talking about buying a P6LR
Yeah,
on the website and then being
freaking
able to
jaw
upgrade it.
cracking. Yeah, I think that you shouldn't, if you're gonna spend money on Star Citizen throughout all this time, you really should understand that anything can change, and for the you're not buying capability. Like you're buying a foot in the door, in my opinion. And I'm hoping that's how it is. But what's your view on that?
I try to be. I mean, it's like you want to be understanding, right? Because it's like somebody comes in and are like, "Hey, that new ship from Star City from CIG, like, I think I'm going to get it. Like, what do you think about it?" And it's really hard for me to answer like about the actual ship because my answer in my head answer is almost always I don't care about ships that do the same thing that all the current ships do, I don't care. I want so all I care about is the video game. And I know that that's like antithetical to the CIG making money at this point, whatever, but like that's not my job. That's their job. Their job is to figure out their finances. My job, which is not really even a job, is to advocate for the game to be better and the game to be developed and as any player, not it's not because I'm content creator or anything like that. But like I think that's all of our jobs as players is to advocate for the game to be better and the game to be developed better. And the next ship that does the same thing actually hurts that goal for the most part. Because if they give you another starter ship that's a runabout that has like 4 SU cargo and has like 2 size 3 guns and has a bed and has physicalized components and lamp, what does that give you that the other recent starter ships don't? I mean, it looks different, and maybe it flies a little bit different, and there's some slight, differences in functionality. It gives you the same thing, and it adds to their debt later for having to upgrade it and gold standard it and upkeep it and develop it and fix bugs with it. It actively, on a small amount, I mean, it's not like a crazy amount, but on some level, it actively hurts the ability of the company CIG to finish the game later. They're going to have to spend dev time on that ship, in the future. So the more ships they make and the more ships they put out, I just go, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one, And to me, as when my whole like perspective is make the game better and finish the game, right? And I know, everybody's going to say in the comments, like, the ship teams aren't the same teams making the game. I know that. But when you have 500 ships by the time this game goes live, you're going to have to hire a lot of ship people. You're going to have to spend your money on people fixing ships because there's going to be so many of them that they're going to have to bring all these ships up to gold standard for 1.0 or whatever. And it's like that is going to affect the company. You can't deny that. And so for me, like the next new ship, for the most part, I don't care.
That's fair. Yeah, I think a lot of people are over new ships, and it is going to build tech debt. I mean, it is building tech debt. We can kind of see it. My biggest wonder is when it comes to Mark IIs, what are they going to do with the old ones? Are they going to
do what the Aurora did and make them like set pieces kind of thing? Because can you still buy Mark 1s in game? You can, right?
For now. Yeah, eventually you won't be able to, but in my mind they should never not be updating that chip. And it becomes a lot less rewarding to keep updating a ship you're not even actively selling anymore.
Yeah.
So,
well, we went from this mentality of like the Cutlass. Remember the Cutlass back in the day?
Yeah.
The Cutlass back in the day was like way different. It was spindly. It didn't have as much cargo space. It wasn't like as tall. It was a totally different. If you guys ever want to see the old Cutlass, I think they still fly when you go to Area 18 and you ride the tram.
Yeah.
In Area 18, you still see the old Cutlass model flying on that street.
Yeah, they look like F-Zero racers with their
yeah, and that's the old model of the Cutlass. It was like this. It was very, very different. They've changed the Cutlass drastically. I mean, it's like a totally different ship. So they went from doing that, where they took a ship and like molded the ship to the game, and now they're just making new ships and calling them Mark IIs instead of changing the ship we currently have. That's a huge. People haven't really been talking about it, but that's a huge shift in development. And you gotta go like, okay, does it make them more money to make Mark IIs because they already sold the Mark I's and they don't have to update a ship they already sold, you know? And it's like, ugh, you know,
Yeah.
what do you do with that information? You know, maybe nothing.
Well,
but
and that's kind of that's where I am with needing to maintain it, because you guys can. It would be very cool if you had these ships in game that were antiques, that were collector's items that people only had because they were there at a certain time, and you simply, the only way you can get them now is by finding them somewhere out in the world or knowing somebody who was around at that time to get them.
yeah, or
That
you
would
do
be
a mission
sick.
chain, you get the reputation to find a builder that can make you a Mark I Hornet,
Yeah.
just for whatever, you know. And it's
That would
like,
be
it's
so
just kind of a
cool.
cool side quest, you know, and that's fine. I don't mind that. But there is this kind of shift to being like, hey, you know how you guys all bought the Mark I? Yeah, the Mark II is like $20 more. Have fun.
So do you?
And I don't know.
What do you think of their excuse that basically, if you were to take the ship and upgrade it to be what they needed to be in the game, it would change it so much that the people from the previous ship who bought that Mark I, you know, would be unhappy, and so they need to make sure to make a new ship for them. Do you think that sticks, or not a good enough excuse?
I think for the most part it doesn't. I mean, the Hornet Mark IIs, they're sleeker.
Well, that one's
For
different because they always. I think
yeah.
the Aurora is the one that they really tried to.
Well, yeah, I mean the old Aurora body was so, you know, it was super old. And
Yeah.
if you're going to change it that drastically, I understand being like, why don't we just make a new ship? But at that point, it's almost like you don't have to make an Aurora Mark II. You could make call it the Borealis, or I don't know, whatever, right? Like, you could just make a new ship. You don't have to make the Aurora Mark II necessarily.
Call it the Borealis.
It was the first thing that came to my head. Leave me alone.
It took a minute to land.
But you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
Yeah.
you could just, I don't know. There's some, I don't see it as a huge problem in certain circumstances. And I'm glad that they kept the price point where we hoped they would. It was like a fool's hope, but they did. The price point is better than I expected. I expected the Aurora Mark II to be like $70, you know, and I think it's less. It's like, somebody's going to correct me if I say any number, but somebody out there is going to know the number.
It's 60 for the game package. I don't know how much the ship is. I think it's
60
like
for the game package.
40
Okay.
or something.
Which to be fair is more than the Aurora Mark I. But also, I think that's part of a bigger shift. I don't think that's like, let's see if we can squeeze money from the Mark I owners. I think that's a shift in the game's price long term. I think they're trying to slowly phase out $45 and $50 game packages in favor of, 60 and up. Which, I mean, that's video games these days. Most of them are $50, $60, you know.
Dude, they're getting like $70 now. I remember when Outer Worlds 2 got its whole reveal ruined because Microsoft came out and was like, yeah, it's going to be $80 when it comes out.
That is so insane.
Yeah, that
I'm sorry,
ruined
but
it.
it's a single player experience RPG. Like, people are going to put 40 to 100 hours in it most of the time. Probably not any more than that. And you want $80. Like, ugh.
Out here trying to justify that Blizzard purchase, though. You guys pay for it yourself.
Yeah. Well, maybe Bill Gates can sell some of his 10 billion acres that he owns in the U.S. to fund it. I don't know.
No, they need that for the GPU for the data centers, too.
Yeah, true. Forgot about that.
Let's talk about reputation. It is kind of... Do you think it's ever going to make a comeback as like the main progression in this game?
Gosh, I hope so. I very much hope that reputation is a very powerful tool, you know? It's like we were talking about earlier, like with, you can work for headhunters for 1,000 missions, you know, and you can be like the most celebrated headhunter of all time. And then one mission you can do and flip-flop your rep entirely. And granted, like I said earlier, it's for the sake of the game, you know, the game's development. They want you to be able to test both sides. They want you to be able to switch. I get it. It might not last. But I mean, one of my favorite little pieces of, you know, like, here's an example, right? There was a bug. Technically, it was a bug for a while that if you were like rank 3 in the rep with Crusader Security, you could
Mhm.
just go to Security Post Korea. Like they would just let you. They were friendly to you. It didn't shoot
Yeah.
at you, which was awesome for bounty hunters because you could literally work to build your reputation and get access to a place that would allow you to do your job better. It was such a cool progression. And of course, it was a bug and CIG got rid of it. But I think they should bring that back for like max level, right? They should be like, if you work to get to rank 5, which takes forever, by the way. If you work to get to rank 5 with Crusader Securities, like you should be able to go to any Crusader Security owned place anytime you want
Yep.
and either call for landing and they're like, hey, you got 20 minutes and we got to kick you out, right? Or just go there, and it's like you should get a benefit. It's such an easy benefit for the
Yeah.
hard work and time you put in. And they could do that at all the planets. ArcCorp Security, Hurston Security, et cetera, could all let you do that, let
Yeah.
you come and go from places for working for certain things. And like the distribution centers at on Hurston, for instance, so there's like the Gray Cat one, right? You do a bunch of missions for Gray Cat and you become friendly with them. Why would their place shoot at you? You're friendly. It's
Yeah.
their place. You should
And
be
then
able
you
to
get
come and go.
discounts on Gray Cat stuff.
Yeah. Before somebody I know somebody's mid comment right now, and just hear me out. I don't necessarily mean the Gray Cat one. It's an example. I think the Gray Cat one is technically friendly, but there are hostile ones that theoretically you could work for that faction, and you get what I'm
Sure.
trying to say.
Yeah. The idea, like, there's so many things in this game that you could use. Getting access is just one thing to places. They could go one step further and say you don't even have those markers show up on your SAR map unless you have the reputation to like go to that faction store and download the data or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like it's like anything. It's they could make it layered, right? So it's like you have access to these locations because you're just like a base level contractor. We don't really trust you. And then you get your reputation up. It was like, hey, the map just lit up with like 10 more places that you can visit. And then you have this progression system of like, I have access to all of Gray Cat's facilities because I've worked for them so much, and you have pride in that,
Yeah.
And I think that's cool.
So what we're
And
looking
especially
for.
with CIG's ability, they can rep or they can wipe separately now. They can wipe UEC, they can wipe items, and they can wipe rep all separately, they say. And it's like they could choose not to wipe rep, and wipe the other things, and then you would still have, and you wouldn't lose that progression and have that like soul crush feeling,
Yeah. And there's just so many factions in the game at this point. It
so many
seems like
factions that could be useful to that.
Yeah. We could all be playing a very different game, and we kind of are starting to with the blueprints. I think that's kind of started changing it, but the progression through this game could be so different if we had actual reputation rewards coming from the things you were doing. And
the other part is like there's so many factions that the lore stuff that CIG puts in, so like the Xenothreat and stuff like that, it would mean a lot more if there were lasting either benefits or negatives to doing what you did during an event. Like Xenothreat attacked and I joined them. Well, now Crusader Securities is not a fan of me for a while, and there's like a pro and con to that. But I can go to Pyro or wherever, and Xenothreat likes me. So anywhere that Xenothreat has a presence, I get missions and I get locations and I get trade and things like that. And it's like, pros and cons. And same thing in the other way around. Like Crusader Security is a big fan of me because I finished off Xenothreat for them, or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm ranked higher in the Bounty Hunters Guild, so I can bring non-lethal weapons into city limits. Those kinds of things would be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool. Yeah. Or, I mean, a good example is I talk about Grim Hex a lot. People are like, how come bounty hunters can go to Grim Hex? Well, first off, it's a development game. But the other part of that is like bounty hunters, even in real life, are not necessarily like, they're not law enforcement necessarily. They work alongside law enforcement, but their job is to get the bad guy and bring him in. And they, think of the Mandalorian, right?
Yeah,
he was a bounty hunter.
Freaking Jango Fett.
And he would he showed up at this, like, to bring this guy in, and he's like, I can bring you in warm, I can bring you in cold. And then he killed like 7 people. It's like, he's not a cop. He's the guy that gets this person from here to here, and it doesn't really matter how that happens, and then he gets paid. So, bounty hunters, like, for instance, at Grim Hex, like, they're law adjacent. Grim Hex might not like them, but let's say that a bounty hunter took his time and worked for Ninetales to the point, or had favor with Ninetales, or even just paid them off or whatever, and they were like, "That's going to cost you, 50,000 credits to land here. I hope it's worth it." You know, things like that.
Yeah.
That could bring more depth to your gameplay. But yeah,
God, I can't wait for it. They've mentioned that these blueprints that they're starting to bring into the game are going to be able to be found on data pads, so you can go and like find them in loot boxes. You can get them as rewards. I do think that they're going to be a
loot
big
box
part
is
of.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they'll be a big part of factions sort of handing them over. It seems like they're making blueprints the center of the whole game. We talk about reputation as a method of progression, but it really feels like blueprints and crafting are kind of becoming the center of Star Citizen. Do you feel that way?
I think right now, yeah, I think part of that is because it's the current thing, like it's the flavor of the quarter or whatever. Which don't get me wrong, I hope that CIG keeps iterating on it. I hope it stays impactful, and interesting, and I hope it remains a big focus of the game. But at the same time, like 6 months from now, they could decide like, hey, we're going to revamp the reputation system, and it's going to be the thing. We're going to have the same conversation about the reputation system, So I don't think it's like the end all be all of Star Citizen. I don't think it's like CIG's like end game is like crafting, but I do think it's a big thing right now, and I hope that it remains a big part of the game going forward, because I think it adds so much.
I do think for a lot of people, crafting is the writing on the wall. That base building will be their real thing that they gravitate towards. A lot of people just want to build a little outpost on some distant planet and find some things to do.
Yeah.
Which honestly sounds amazing.
CIG has a history of taking something small and using that to develop something bigger. They do that a lot with like mining, for instance. Like you had like hand mining and ship mining are very related, right? In like how it functions and how you do one thing. You use hand mining, like the intro hand mining missions. You kind of use those, and it teaches you the idea of like feathering the laser and like cracking little rocks with a lot less risk, right?
Yeah.
And then you take that information and apply it to an area with more risk, and more reward, which might be ship mining. So they do have a pretty long history of kind of doing that, of taking something small and then applying it to something bigger. So crafting might be, it sounds to me, right, like it's a I don't want to say a test bed, but it's like that smaller version of the bigger thing. Like, oh yeah, now we have a ship which is a giant fabricator that makes ships, and it's the same kind of concept. You bring the stuff to the fabricator, and then it makes you a ship or a module or a piece of a base or whatever.
When do you think we're going to get the first fabrication in a ship?
What?
Like a crafting, yeah. Be able to actually craft something in a ship.
In a ship? Well, you can use a fabricator in a ship, right?
Yeah. Technically, you can.
Are you talking about like a built-in fabricator in a ship?
Yeah, like the what is it? The CNOU Forge they talked about, or like the Clippers fab bench working.
Technically, somebody's mid-comment right now in all caps with a bunch of exclamation points.
The vulture.
Yeah, I know, the vulture.
Okay.
That was one of my favorite comments I saw all over Reddit. Was like, OMG, crafting is in. And I'm like, no. Like, it's spitting out an item and decrementing your, like, okay, technically, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could see, what's the ship that makes ships? Is it a Rostra? I'm going to get
ship that makes ships?
Yeah, isn't there supposed to be a ship that like can build ships?
Oh, I guess the Pioneer might be able to.
Pioneer, is that the one I'm thinking? Whatever. Anyway, let's say that there's a ship that can make ships, or whatever module, bigger stuff, right? I don't see any reason why they couldn't stuff a fabricator into a wall, or make it like a mini freight elevator fabricator. I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't do that. Like,
do you think that they're going to like add it to the Clipper, or just release a new ship with it?
I think they're going to lean pretty heavily on. Like you can take a fabricator into the cargo grid and use it there,
okay.
For a lot of the existing ships or ships that are kind of like, fresh. So, but in the future, I could see them, developing a ship with it. Cause that'll be like, imagine you watch a Inside Star Citizen where they're or an SCL or whatever, where they unveil a new ship and then, this epic cinematic plays. And then it cuts to like a guy fabricating something in the wall, and you can just hear the CitizenCon cheer.
It sounds like the Forge.
Cut to it.
Have you heard them talking about that?
Not much, to be honest. Like I said, ships aren't really my bag, but
Okay, that's fair. I think it's potentially like the last silhouette that we never got from that 2024
Oh yeah, I forgot
silhouette
about
video.
that.
Yeah.
I've visibly aged since then, so it's easy to forget.
All things in the universe have aged very visibly
Yeah.
since then. It's been
Yeah, we
a
are
crazy year and a
closer to
half.
the inexorable heat death of the universe, I think.
Oh man.
That's
Pyro, just take us now.
yeah, one of my favorite things to say about Elite Dangerous, there is no Elite Dangerous slander, because I know it's not everybody's game, but that game was developed, released, lived almost its entire life, and is slowly fading away in the shadow of Star Citizen's alpha development. So it's like you don't get to talk crap about Elite Dangerous.
Nah, Elite's been through it. And honestly, I think they've done a pretty decent job over the last couple of years of keeping it going and kind of
it's genuinely a good
seemingly
game.
getting it some new energy.
Yeah, I think Frontier moved on to other projects over and over and over. They made it clear it wasn't like their end-all be-all game, but I think a lot of people loved it, and it was just
still love it.
Was a successful title for
you talking about people in the comments, dude. Somebody is busting out a comment right now telling you about their trip to Sagittarius A star, and
that's right.
And they're out
and
of the bubble.
And then the other guy is replying to that guy saying the words "inch deep and a mile wide," like Star Citizen isn't. There's not even a reputation system. In Elite Dangerous, you can take a faction and I started a faction years and years and years ago, and they still play. They own like 50 systems in Elite Dangerous. Like their name is on it, and they own the stations in those systems. Like, I'm sorry, cool. That's depth, But anyway.
Do you think that's going to all be in the comment?
I don't know. I hope so. Now it should be. No.
Yeah.
Now I hope somebody uses like Dragon Naturally Speaking. It just goes.
Yep. Somebody go back through and type all that. I'm gonna love to see that conversation.
ChatGPT, write this in the comments section, but make him look like an idiot. Don't worry, I do that myself.
Yeah, ChatGPT didn't change anything. Sorry.
Thanks.
Let's talk about item recovery, because I think this is almost as triggering, I think, to some folks as master modes. Truly just gets me shaking.
Oh, maybe you said it. You said both of them in the same sentence.
Yeah, it's true. I like you said, dude, I'm just trying to clip farm. So they've mentioned that item recovery is coming back for like ship things in 4.8, but it was about this time, I want to say April or May last year, when they showed us their roadmap for how item recovery would progress, and they introduced Tier 0. So I must ask you, with hindsight, should they have just skipped the whole last year and simply moved into Tier 1 whenever it was ready? Not to say this is Tier 1 we're getting, but like,
yeah,
they're advancing now. Should they have just waited to do that, or do you think this last year of Tier 0 was actually useful?
I think to some extent, and I've said this for a while, I think to some extent Tier 0 does offer some players who are loss averse to loss. It offers those players some replayability. I think those players are a little less likely to be like, screw this, and log off for the day if they die and they keep their gear. Like, okay, I get it. Especially with the bugs. So like the other day, even with Tier 0, like my character had like hacking chips and like alignment blades for Hathor and stuff. And I don't remember what happened, but I died, right? And then I get back to my body, and my body is uninteractable, can't loot it. Well, that sucks, So I get it with the bugs and stuff, especially.
Yeah.
I always thought that instead of Tier 0, they should have just put a kiosk in your hangar that just showed the stuff that you were wearing when you died most recently. And it's like, do you want it? Do you want to get it? Do you want to claim it back? It's going to take like, 30 seconds or whatever. And you can do it like once every 3 hours or whatever, And I think that would have been like, that's, in my opinion, that's what players were most players I think were asking for. Yeah. Was not the ability to just not lose anything and not loot anything, but the ability to get stuff back, through some process, whether that's a kiosk or something simple, something placeholder. I think that would have been a much better Tier 0, is to say like, hey, there's a little process you have to do to get your stuff back, but you can get your stuff back. And then we're going to roll that into the Tier 1 and Tier 2 system, which is kind of the plan for that, right? It's like this insurance system where you can get it back. And then Tier 1 is like, yeah, anyway, I think there's a question coming up about that.
That is basically tier 1, right? The idea of tier 1 is that they've figured out how to let us lose our stuff but get it back in our ASOP
Yeah,
terminal.
which I mean, they already did. Look, we've been claiming ships for years.
Yeah.
You could just apply that to the armor you were wearing and dev
Yeah.
that in and be done with it.
So I
So
guess
it's a little weird
it's
for me to be like, I downed this guy. He's got a great weapon. I literally can't take it off of out of his hands. Like his players, it's right there, and I can't take it.
Mhm.
Has always just been insanely immersion breaking for me.
Yep.
Um, because I don't mind that that player has an avenue to get his stuff back. That I don't care that he loses as much as I care that I gain. You know, or I mean, and then people are going to go, "Oh, that's just PvPers." You go to Jumptown
No,
as a
it's not.
scavenger, and there's a bunch of dead bodies around, but you can't do anything with them. You're not a
Yeah.
combat player, not a PvPer. You're just a scavenger, and you can't scavenge anything because they're just stripped dead bodies that you can see the guns and you can see the backpacks and the gear, but you can't take any of it, which is
Yeah.
just a bummer.
That happens very regularly. You're going into a new dungeon or new location where people are just going through naturally and spending their time. You're coming across a bunch of NPC bodies. They're boring. And you come across that occasional player body and you're like, oh, cool. What did they pick up from here? Like, what did they grab? What did they bring in here? So you go to look and you can't grab anything. You didn't kill the person. You have nothing against them. They have nothing against you, but
Yeah, it's
the
not even
game doesn't
PvP. It's just
play.
scavenging. It's
Yeah.
almost PvE. It's the environment now. The dead body is the environment. And you're just it's part of the environment that you're looting.
Yeah.
Also, on the other side of that, I think CIG missed an opportunity to push for NPCs to have more unique gear. Because when you go to a bunker and you take out 15 NPCs, there's like 3 different archetypes of NPCs in most bunkers, and they all have the same stuff. You'll kill an NPC and you'll be like, that's a Karna NPC. I know exactly he's going to have 3 magazines of Karna. He's going to have 1 grenade and he's going to have 1 med pen. That's all I'm going to be able to loot. And I think that CIG missed an opportunity over the last year to push the envelope with what NPCs carry and to make them more randomized and things like that.
Yeah.
And to give you real chances to be like, hey, I can still do that scavenging gameplay by going to a place and finding dead bodies. They don't have to be players, but when NPCs are boring to loot and when players are impossible to loot, you don't really do it, you only do it out of necessity to get maybe ammo or something, right? So
I think you are describing it. It feels to me like they have reached this point, and I don't know if it has to do with Squadron 42's development, if it has to do with the fact that they've gotten more of their systems and their tools, the big tools thing, if they've gotten those working, if they've expanded teams and hired people. I don't know what exactly it is, but over the last, I want to say 18 months, it feels like they've shifted from being able to just kind of launch stuff into Star Citizen to actually start building a game in some ways and doing things that feel more game focused. And the stuff that you're naming does sound like the kind of thing that they're getting closer to finally. It's like,
I hope so.
They talked about how they want NPCs to be carrying crafted gear so that when you get it, it's not lame compared to everything else that we're working with. And I wonder, I can't wait to see the documentary, man, about the making of this. To see
yeah, the BTS.
what the heck was going on. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Like I hope that in the documentary they say whether or not Xylo really did play all of Squadron 42 in 2016. 10 years ago.
He played a different Squadron 42, no doubt.
Is it? He played Squadron 41, I think.
Yeah.
I think he just typoed when he wrote that.
Squadron 40.
Squadron 41. The unreleased title, Squadron 41, that was finished in 2017.
The prequel. Huh? Come on. How do you think players are going to deal with item recovery tier 1? Again, just to make clear to the audience, we're not seeing tier 1. I guess let me change what I'm asking. How do you think players are going to respond to things in your ship being open to item recovery? This kind of completes a really big holdover I think people had from living out of their ships, because if you died and you had stuff, if you actually stored stuff on your ship, it's all gone anyways. Do you think this will change the way people play, or?
I think it'll change the way people react. I don't know if it'll change a lot of the way people play, because they're still going to get in their ships. They're still going to go out. They're still going to do the same missions. They're still going to go to the same places for the most part.
But are you
I
going to
don't know
put
if this
water
is going to
bottles in your
be,
fridge now?
yeah. I don't know if this is going to be controversial or not. I don't think so. But I'm actually, the way I'm reading into it, and it's granted, it might not be this way. So I'll caveat it with that. But, um, or disclaim it with that, I guess. The 4.8 thing where it's like, if a ship is, what is it? If a ship is claimed, the items that are on it are going to brick. I
Mhm.
mostly disagree with that because I think it hurts salvage gameplay. And people are going to say like, well, yeah, but they're it's in preparation for what's next. And it's like, well, it's the same thing with tier 0 looting. In my opinion, they could have done it a different way to make it not hurt right now. To make it not hurt salvage right now, but to still prepare for what's coming in the future. I disagreed with them pushing tier 0 out for like looting personally. And I think I kind of disagree from again, just from what I know or from what I've kind of heard about what they want to do with ship modules and stuff. Like, I kind of disagree with them doing it now in the way that they're doing it, or the way that it seems like they're doing it, I guess.
Do you think that the bricking is a problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I take a gun from a ship that is abandoned, or like somebody gave it up, like they gave up the ship, why does it stop working? It's not magic, you know? So to me, I don't like that. I don't like, and then furthermore, I don't like the ability to, like, my ship got disabled by somebody, and if I run to the ASOP terminal and click claim, they can't use any of the stuff on it. Like, I don't like that either, I don't like that meta, that like back end meta gaming part where it's like,
Yeah.
haha, I got you back. You can't
Yeah,
use
you
any
can
of the
get
stuff
back
you
at
just
them.
took.
Yeah.
And I've never liked that either. Like the tier 1, the way that they describe tier 1 looting, like with armor and stuff, is like, yeah, you can take the person's gun, but then they're just gonna brick it. And it's like, well, then just brick it from the start. Like, don't let me even shoot it. Don't let me even take it. Which, grant, I mean, it's, you can put it on a fabricator and break it down,
Mhm.
into its components. So if you take like somebody's 900 quality, gun, you can break it down and get some of the 900 quality materials. Okay, all right, I get that. But sometimes you just like, is there any reason why a gun would stop firing, or why a power plant would stop providing power just because somebody hit the claim button? I don't like that. I think that CIG should not do it until they find a more elegant way to segue into the next step. I just don't think I think it's a very harsh and unelegant way to segue into what they want for the future, and I think that they should find a better way, or just not, they should not do it until they find a better way, if that makes sense.
Mm. I'm
That's just
looking at
my opinion, but
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm looking at their plans for T2, and it does look like they're actually going to stick with the idea of breaking things. They'll just let you restore it in some way for some kind
I'm
of
actually okay
price.
with that.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I still don't like the idea of like, you got me in the CZ and you took my gun. Ha! You can't use it until you do that thing. But
Yeah.
I'm all about having gameplay and an avenue to unbrick it. That I'm cool with. If they could skip tier 1 and go straight to tier 2, if they could have skipped tier 0 and tier 1 and go straight to tier 2, I'd have been ecstatic about it. I think that would have been fine because it gives everybody the gameplay they want. I'm all about not removing gameplay. If I can, if I can, kill an enemy, right? Or like beat somebody else, take their stuff and understand that they're probably going to brick that item, and then I know that I have to do the next step to get to use it, but they give me the next step to use it. Okay, let me play the game,
There's a
then
progression.
I move on and I go play the game. I stack up some stuff and then I take them all to a place where it can be, you know, cleaned or whatever it's called, right? I think the same thing with contracted cargo for missions. Contracted cargoes to me is like kind of a tier 0 mechanic where it's like you load up contracted tungsten, which is worth a decent amount, or contracted gold, let's say. And then somebody pirates you and takes it, but it's completely worthless, despite the fact that it is tons and tons of gold. Just because it's stolen doesn't mean it's worthless, you know? And they can't sell it anywhere. What they should do is they should be like, okay, pirate, you have 20 SCU of gold that you stole from some contracted gold. It's hot cargo. You can't sell that anywhere legal. You have to go clean it. So you have to take it to somewhere in Pyro. send it down a freight elevator, pay to essentially refine it, let's say, or let's call it repacking, right? And then it takes like 12 hours or whatever it is based upon how much you pay, kind of like refining. It would be, you use the same system as refining ore for stolen cargo, and then you get it back, and you have to undertake industry gameplay, right, to ship that hot cargo. And like, let's say that you have hot cargo, well, then NPC like bounty hunters are going to show up, like in Elite Dangerous. When you have stolen cargo, NPC bounty hunters show up, or when you have a bounty, NPC bounty hunters show up to claim your bounty, right? You create PvE content, you create industry gameplay alongside it's not just pirates shooty-pewing people, right? And you create gameplay, you create depth of gameplay with that. And I think that that's the direction they should always move, is to add gameplay rather than to remove the joy from a certain type of gameplay.
I agree. Do you think that they would have been, or do you think the game's health would have been better off if they had skipped this whole item recovery journey and just waited until T2 was ready? Like,
it's a tough call, because like I said, with Tier 0, it probably did keep some players around, a lot more. There's a lot of players that say they love Tier 0 and they like not losing stuff. I wish that they had done it. Like I said, I wish they had done it in a little bit more elegant way to keep those players around. For instance, like a kiosk in your hangar that lets you get your stuff back for now. Okay. Everybody gets their gameplay. I get, like, a player that kills me gets to loot me and use my stuff. I respawn because I'm dead, and then I go back to my hangar and I get to get my stuff back too. Yes, there could be some duping concerns or whatever, but if this last year is any indication, we know that CIG doesn't seem to mind duping hanging around a little bit. And you could make a timer on it. Like, you have sub gear on. You can only claim it at the, this item kiosk every 24 hours.
Yeah.
You're not going to dupe that many of them. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
It's also, I mean, and there's so many, there are like a lot of hurdles that you have to get through if you want to dupe. In order to dupe, you have to either have the money or resources to do it, and then you have to have a blueprint, right? If the thing gets destroyed, and you have to make sure you're even getting the right tier of that item. On top of that, whatever crafting or blueprint you have to do, the materials have to be high quality too. There are quite a few stopgaps to people being able to get nice stuff a lot.
I think it was PK Payback here in the podcast room.
PKP
chat made a very good point. He said when they start losing stuff again, like, so Tier 0 upset a lot of players. It made some players happy, but it upset a lot of players too.
Mm-hmm.
And those players have been kind of annoyed with Tier 0 for a long time. When Tier 2 comes around, for instance, the players that are very used to not losing their stuff are going to start losing their stuff again. And then they're going to be upset. And it's like you've essentially made 100% of the community upset at some point.
Yeah.
Either on the, in the Tier 0 side or on the other side, when players start losing their stuff again and have to go through the hoops to, like, get their stuff back, they're going to be upset that they now lose it, So it's like, I just wish that it had been like let's do something much more easy, much more simple, like, elegant in the meantime while we work on this, like, what we want it to be,
But that's just the story of Star Citizen. Yeah. It's all about making people upset. And it's largely about making people upset by things that just aren't finished. Like, how many people do you see constantly say that we need to have PvE servers because they can't go outside of Microtech without getting shot down? And it's like, well,
I basically ignore those people these days, because anybody who says that they need a PvE version of the game doesn't understand what it would take to make a PvE version of the game.
But that's so anyway. Like, we run into a similar situation here where they clearly don't have the actual solution ready. And so they give us something else that's like kind of halfway and it does the job, whatever. And by the time that actually the real solution comes around, there's a ton of people who don't realize that it's supposed to be different. It's going to be the same way with death, right? When, like, you can't die as much.
Space, man. Yeah.
It's going to be the same thing with control surfaces, right? VTOL thrusters being important. The same thing with mass having an effect on your ships, all these things. And I do wonder, how the heck do you make sure that people aren't going to be pissed in the future when that
Oh
does
yeah, you're
change?
always gonna upset somebody. Like the day that they make it so you can't nose down a Gladius and just stare
Yeah.
at the ground for like 5 minutes, there's gonna be a ton of people who are upset that because they love to do that. They love to do their missions where they nose down the NPCs and then fly off. And it's it's always gonna piss somebody off. Here's something that I think everybody will agree with. All right. I think that we should add more Wicklow stations. And I also think that Rowena Dooley needs more voice lines in which she tries a Southern accent.
Weapons free, y'all.
That's right. I think her and Wicklow should be at the same station. She should be his ATC. Hangers free, y'all.
I can't. I love that. Like, Star Citizen is this freaking conglomerate of every possible English accent you could find: pirates, politicians, security, everyone. And then you got Marina Dooley, who's literally acted by a British person, and she's
I know.
rocking this Southern accent.
To her credit, she did a pretty good job
Yeah.
voice acting. I mean, it's Anna
Yeah.
Dimitri, right? But occasionally, so there are occasionally, if I'm on stream and I say weapons free, y'all. Sometimes, like twice now, I've gotten a DM where it's like, saw that. Like, oh shit.
It's fun. That one's fun. The weapons free, y'all, and the killed your cousin. Those two are gonna probably stay in my head forever.
I last night I killed like 12 cousins. You have no idea how many people are related in Star Citizen. It's unreal.
It's not healthy, honestly.
Yeah.
Stanton's got a problem.
Cousin. You know?
Maybe you guys should.
I'm like across the facility, and I was like, "How do you even know who I just killed? You can't even see him."
Yeah, it was that guy was outside in a spaceship, and then you get what's her name calling you? What's the lady?
I don't remember. We're just out here wiping genealogies from the map in Star Citizen. Every time we do a bunker mission.
You kind of have to, dude. You got to get rid of some of these English accents.
I feel like Stanton is like Alabama, you know?
English Alabama. What is that called? Aberdeen?
If you're from Alabama, I'm kidding.
If you're from Aberdeen, I'm especially kidding. I'm sorry.
Right now is being like, everybody from Alabama in the comments is be like, it's not Alabama. It's whatever other state is nearby.
It's Virginia.
Yeah, whatever, you know.
We just made so many different people. I'm sorry, guys. All right, please.
You said it was a Star Citizen way. Make as many people upset as possible.
That is true. Yeah. Doing a good job.
Yeah, I think CIG should do another platinum event for F8Cs, but it's the F7, the F8A, and only streamers should be able to win.
Also in the streamer server, of course.
Yeah, in the streamer PvE server where we all work together. Yeah, I think that'd be genius.
Okay, let's talk about combat. I want to finish off here talking about some of the combat stuff they're adding in 4.8. Now, it's not just combat missions they're adding. We're actually getting a pretty decent amount of like cargo. There's some new mining stuff going on, and I think investigations and stuff. But combat, still the main thing with Squadron and everything. They're bringing in both tactical strike groups and Xenothreat. We're also seeing a pretty decent amount of like just generic combat missions, which is not the first. On that front, what do you think of all of the missions and just sort of gameplay they've been adding around space combat? If you're the kind of player who wants to join Star Citizen because you like flying spaceships and shooting people, you think they've been doing a good job of adding to that lately?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a variety of things you can do. Most of the time a player puts like 50 hours into Star Citizen and they try most of the things that they want to try, you know. And you're probably only going to do space combat missions for so long because you start to see it. You know, you're like, oh, this illegal mission, the Vaughn mission to destroy a guy in a ship is exactly the same as a bounty hunter mission to destroy a guy in a ship. It's just I get a bounty for it or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You do one, you kind of do both. You know, you do a couple of each, and you're like, oh yeah, this is the same thing, and you just move on. Not always, but sometimes. I've been of the mind for a long, long time that missions and quests are not what make an MMO a great MMO. You could add 1 million missions to Star Citizen, as unique as you can, and it's not going to make a player put 1,000 hours into the game, in my opinion. You have to create social interactions that are meaningful. either in PvP or in PvE or player with player, right? You have to create those situations that make the game into that kind of sandboxy MMO that CIG wants it to be. A good example is World of Warcraft. You can play World of Warcraft and do all the quest lines, level your character, and all that stuff. You do most of that stuff solo. Not all of it, but most of it. When you start getting into dungeons, the player with player content, that's when you really start to dig into the reasons why people play WoW for thousands of hours. You know, I mean, the crafting side of it. When you're crafting stuff, you're interacting with other players because you craft a thing and you want to sell it. It's part of the industry part of World of Warcraft. You have to make those gameplay loops interesting. And when you're out there like searching in World of Warcraft, you're out there searching for like linen cloth, OG enchanters, you know what I'm talking about? You're not engaging in a mission. You're just going out there farming mobs for linen cloth, right? It's what you need. So you go get it. You know, that's the industry side of things. And you're putting hours and hours and hours into that, and it's rewarding because you get the thing out of it. It's reliable, and you can keep coming back to it. The daily quests and stuff are kind of, you know, you do dailies to make a little bit of money, but I never really stuck with it. So CIG, like I said, CIG could add 1,000 missions to the game. They could add 1,000,000 missions to the game. And if they do that, they start doing like dynamic server meshing or start packing more servers into the mesh or whatever, and they say, we got 10,000 players, right, in these 3 systems, and they're all over the place, and they're all doing different missions. The reality is a lot of those players are going to get bored with the same missions. You know, no matter how many missions there are, the missions aren't the thing that's going to make this game into a 20-year game, in my opinion. It gives players something to do so that they don't run into each other all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think to make a game great, you make those run-ins with other players meaningful and interesting or dynamic or whatever. You find a way to do that rather than just throwing more missions at the situation. So to me, it's always cool to have more to do. Like, I'm not saying that it's like, oh yeah, who cares about the missions, right? I'll go do them because I'm sure they're going to have blueprints at the end of them, things that I want and things that I need. Especially like the tactical strike group missions and stuff like that. It's going to be like get a crew together, like engage in that game, but that's great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you give me as a solo player another place to go and shoot another guy. I don't really care, you know. I'll probably go do it if there's an end, you know, an end to the means, but that isn't going to make me play the game for 1,000 hours. You know, what's going to make me play the game for 1,000 hours is social tools, you know, industry tools, being able to interact with other players and NPCs in meaningful ways, you know, that kind of stuff. So
social tools.
Yeah, I said it. We're just triggering everybody today.
Yeah, dude, you're gonna get me angry commenting. How about, I mean, on that note, you mentioned tactical strike groups. So what do you think of what we've seen of that so far and how that's going to play out?
I have intentionally tried not to spoil parts of it. I try to do that as much as I can. I mean, still play PTUs and stuff, but like even when I play PTUs, I try to just, you know, test a few things, go through the motions, but I don't really dig into the new content. Mm-hmm. So I've been trying to like keep myself sort of blind of it for the most part. I think as long as it brings players together and they work, they have to work.
That'd be important.
They have to be reliable and they have to bring players together, and I think it'll add a lot of interesting content to the game.
I hope so, man. I hope so. I'm really trying to reserve judgment and wait to see what actually happens with them because the circumstances that they're launching are interesting. But you know, CIG, they can make fun gameplay, I think, when it comes to ship combat.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not the same, but like Xenothreat, I think I've said this a million times, but I think Ninetales Lockdown was the best idea of any dynamic event they ever had. They just never got it working, especially with the cargo refactor. Oh, God, it's so good.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just me being me.
Yeah, that one's actually rough because the blockade idea is really cool.
Oh, it was so cool, and the fact that you could trigger it by having like a hostile or wanted presence around a station would start to trigger like a buildup of a blockade, and then the blockade would happen. And then they tried to redo it with that. I can't remember what it was called. And somebody's going to say don't get confused. There's Blockade Runner, and then there was Ninetales Lockdown. Ninetales Lockdown was the dynamic larger event that CIG worked on in the past that had literally everything. There was FPS gameplay, there was FPS combat, there was FPS looting.
There's FPS
if
gameplay?
You wanted there to be. Yes, there was. In Ninetales Lockdown, you could find abandoned Starfarer wrecks, and they had medical supplies on them, like SEUs of medical supplies.
Oh.
to make that, and you could loot them, take them to the station, and sell them to the blockaded station if you wanted to. Now, it wasn't the same as like the people who would go buy 500 SCU of medical supplies, but given the cargo refactor, they could have been like, hey, there's a a C2, right, that's derelict out here that has a bunch of medical supplies that you can engage in FPS gameplay, and then further the mission without buying a thing. You could just find these wrecks. So anyway, but I think Ninetales Lockdown was before its time, is all I'm going to say.
They all were, really. And
I think
I'm a
most
little
of them,
bummed to see Xenothreat taking such a drastic shift from the pretty awesome format it used to have.
It'd be funny if they put out like it'd be funny if this Xenothreat attacking Wicklow thing had come before April 1st, because they could have put out a funny April Fool's Day video where it's just like an Idris flying at, mock Jesus into a Wicklow station and it exploding. And then you'd cut to like hundreds of NPCs watching a monitor at Ors and all cheering.
Like the bar
I don't think they would do
the...
that because they like Wicklow and they know we don't really like Wicklow, but it would be funny.
They put that up on like that scene with the people in the bar freaking out. I think somebody scores a goal, but everybody green screens the big scene on the wall.
Yes. Oh, and that would be great. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. A beer just flying everywhere. Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap this up with okay, before we wrap it up, I do have to hear. Do you have any ships that you're excited for over the next let's say Invictus season?
It's going to be terribly boring, but no.
All right. Yeah, you're not much of the ship guy, so I get that.
But like I said earlier, like I'm not really a ship guy. It's like new ships don't really grab me in any way. Let's see. Is the Anvil doorstop coming soon? The Liberator? I've heard talk of it, but I don't. People just keep mentioning it. I don't know if that means that.
No, that was in last we heard. That was in pre-production, like at the end of last year. So, yeah, people keep thinking it's going to be like a surprise drop, but I don't think they're going to surprise drop that one.
No, I think they, it's basically I don't know. It's basically a treadmill with engines. It's like you gotta hype it up somehow. You can't just fly our doorstop. It's like, well, okay.
It's an interesting ship, especially because when they sold it, it was kind of the thinking that distances would be further, so you'd have to ferry around smaller ships. And I'm wondering
that's
if
going to
they're
be an interesting ship to market going forward.
Yeah, you think they're going to drop fuel capabilities now that they're adding refueling in more substantially?
That's a good point. Refueling has always bothered me because it's so close to being like really useful. I think they should get rid of the proboscis thing entirely on the Starfare and any other fueling ship. It's janky. It never works. It's too hard to dev. Like, just give up on it, in my opinion, and make it so like if I have a Gladius and I want fuel from a Starfare, I literally just fly up next to him and then open my Moby Glass and then it transfers. Like, who cares? Pretend it's drones. It doesn't matter.
Oh man, you want them to get away from the physical fuel?
You don't need a physicalized proboscis that attaches to a tiny little port on my ship, and then if anybody touches any controls, everybody blows up. Like,
buddy. Come on, man. It's got to be the physical connection and multiple attachments to that connection. You got to put some components on there.
That's right. I forgot you actually have to have a tank of real gasoline next to your computer that gets piped into the internet to fuel the other guy.
Exactly. Right next to your
there's so many things that are like tractor beams as a whole are totally gamified. It's just like, why don't we just gamify a gameplay loop that tons of people want to work?
I mean, but
like,
tractor beams,
have a Starfare and ships can fly up to you, and then they just use their Moby Glass. You set the price on your screen. They just take your fuel till it's empty, and then you leave with your money.
I would prefer. I mean, I like the physical connection. I just prefer if they made it a little more lenient how you make that connection, so it's not janky.
Yeah, and I just think with the engine that they have and the way, the amount of dev that would go into that, like, in my, like, let's just use, like, to me, I just go, let's just use, like, client side even, or, like, non-physicalized drones that are just flying from ship to ship, kind of like limpets in Elite Dangerous. Some of you guys will know what I'm talking about, but limpets are physicalized and they can blow up kind of easily. You can even do something visual in Star Citizen that's like, oh, there's little drones flying out, fueling these ships, and then it's done, I think that'd
Uh,
be great. But
yeah, maybe you just email the fuel back and forth. You just send it on your you just do a little call and the fuel shows up in your
yeah,
ship.
you buy it at the auction house and then you pick it up later.
All right. Let's wrap things up here with a couple predictions. We do this now with our guests on the launch sequence so that next time you come back, we can ridicule and make fun of all of the horrible things that you thought were going to happen. Yeah.
I'm so bad with predictions because I don't have anything really, I never have anything really bold.
Yeah, it's got to be hot and spicy, or else I'm just going to keep telling you to keep going. So give it a shot. What do you got? What's going to happen in the next 6 months?
Bold prediction. They in the next quarter, in the next 2 quarters, they get ships, they fix ship audio to where where every ship doesn't sound like a vacuum cleaner. You guys know what I'm talking about. And that's a bold prediction if you know what I'm talking about. And here's the other bold prediction. They don't add anything else to Wicklow shops.
Oh.
no more Wicklow editions. It's going to be crafted items. They're going to push crafted items rather than Wicklow items. And then the other one is going to be they fix ship audio so that when a ship flies by you, the ships make their own noises again rather than all sounding like a Gladius.
All right. Oh, yeah, they do all sound like Gladius. You're right. Yeah.
They all sound like a vacuum cleaner. Yep.
Because I think it was with Maverick in the chat, was flying a Hull B yesterday, and I heard him flying around outside the ship I was in, and I was like, "Why does that sound like
outside?
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. So it's annoying because there was so many times that, like, you'd be in SPK clearing your bounty, for instance, or whatever, and like a ship shows up, and you're like, "Oh, that's a Scorpio or whatever. That's a whatever because it sounds like this." Like, that's so cool.
Yeah,
you know, to be able to hear. Which, to be fair, you shouldn't hear ships in the station, but that's a whole other thing.
Their audio guy literally went on camera yesterday. And he's like, "Our goal is to make it reliable." And then they came back on at the beginning of this year, which, you know, I'll say this: they've definitely made improvements since then. So I look forward to seeing if they're gonna be able to complete that one this year. Because yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah.
As for
it's just one of those immersion breaking things, you know.
Yeah, definitely. As for the Wicklow shops, does that include new ships, or are you saying the Wicklow ships are a done thing? They're always going to be going.
Oh, let's say there's no more. Let's just say it. Oh, okay. I'll do a third one. I'll do a bonus one. They remove the Sulin from the executive CZs hangars.
All right, I'm going to need you to confirm that one when you come back, because
I'm manifesting that one. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm manifesting it.
Okay.
Please God.
Is it like that's all you get whenever you go run through them? You just
the Sulin is the most common one you get. It's the easiest one to get, so it takes up the most of the combinations, and it's like the worst ship you can get from the executive hangars.
Yeah, I think I got one actually. I think
I'm sure if you've done the executive hangars more than about 3 times, I bet you have.
I haven't, but my org has, and they were very kind.
One of our guys in our org, Perosia, which turns out means pigeon, I believe, in French. He's gonna laugh that I said that. He had 9 Sulins from executive hangars in 4.5, I think it was, or 4.4. So
that guy Xenothreat, go after him.
Oh, dude, if we go to an exec hangar together as an org, like he's an org mate, and we get a Sulin, we force him to claim it every time. And to be fair, like they do come with some good mod, like they come with NDBs on them, and they come with some stealth modules on them. So it's not like it's a total loss, but it's a Sulin. For the record, if I'm not mistaken, the Sulin's interior buttons don't even work right. You like where the little like alien symbols are to push, like open and close the doors. You have to like fiddle with it to get it to work right. It doesn't. You can barely fly the ship.
But not even that old of a ship.
Nope. That's the thing. Make more ships that do the same thing as other ships do, and you create debt. It frustrates me, man.
Yeah.
Why I'm not excited for ships that do the same thing that the previous ships do.
Well, you just watch your friend French Pigeon is going to end up having a bunch of Sulins, and they're going to end up getting fixed, and he's going to be laughing at all of you with the really good ship with all the upgraded components.
He's going to make like the Sulin Megazord, you know?
His army of Sulin's going to blot out the sun.
With the power of anime. You have a Mega Sulin. You just make the Sulin. CIG is going to develop. You make a Gatak Raylan by putting 6 Sulins together and having them all transform.
Just that you can have 6 people flying them split off and swarm your enemies whenever you want.
Ooh, okay. That would actually be cool. But
Xion strategy.
none of you tell Chris Roberts that, or
Too
you
late.
will add 2 years to development.
Too late.
Okay?
Gold standard it. Let's get a Mark
That's
II
between you and us.
Gundam Zorg Overlord. I don't know. Let's wrap this up. Thank you so much for
Always a good time with you.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for joining me for this chat. This is some good looks at, like, Star Citizen is kind of advancing. I love the conversations we get to have now, because even though we still complain about a lot of the same stuff, like, these are actual progression things we're talking about, which is nice.
Yeah. There's some good steps. I mean, there's always critique to be had. We've, you and I both in our talking points tonight, we've had critiques, we've had criticisms. I think they've been fair. Not everybody will think they've been fair, of course, especially about the Rowena Dooley stuff. I'm sure we're going to get some flame for that, but
love Rowena. She's great.
She's fantastic.
Weapons free.
The voice actor for Rowena Dooley is fantastic.
Yeah, she is a Star Citizen streamer. So if you
she plays Star Citizen usually like once a week or once every couple of weeks. She does variety a lot now, but she's been a great part of the Star Citizen community for a long time. So
yeah, don't worry, guys. We love the game. You don't have to worry about us. Just CIG just keep giving us LTI and putting us on the streamer servers, and we won't say any more bad things. I promise.
I like how you had so much goodwill in the first part of that sentence, and then you just ruined it.
You want to let the folks know where they can find your content and your streams in good words?
Generally speaking, on Twitch, XeroState on Twitch with an X at the beginning. It's probably going to be somewhere in the, I don't know, just video description. I'm not much of a YouTuber. I have some old YouTube videos. I occasionally post a short or two. You can subscribe there if you really want. It doesn't really help me because my channel isn't monetized yet, because I don't post enough there to get the watch hours for it. But hey, go nuts. And then I post stupid crap on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, once in a while. And you could probably find me posting dumb stuff there occasionally.
Still don't know what to call it, huh?
I decided a long time ago, I'm going to keep calling it Twitter until they change the name again, and then I'm going to start calling it X.
Yeah, like they're ever going to change the name, man.
I don't know. If you go to twitter.com, it still redirects you to x.com. So it's like, whatever.
I always just search Twitter. Yeah, it's easiest that way. But I feel like I'll never admit that he was wrong
in my browser. But anyway, that's what Twitch is where you can find me. Come say hi. Tell me all the ways I was wrong about literally everything I said.
So wrong, dude. So wrong.
Yeah, and then I'll make a mom joke and we'll get along after that. It'll be fine.
Oh, it's great, dude.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And then you got to talk about your cousin or something. They killed him. They killed my cousin. All right, everybody. Yeah. Thank you for coming to another episode of The Launch Sequence. It's almost May, so things are just getting a little more weird. We are approaching Invictus Week. Things are going to be heating up quite a bit. I think we're looking at quite a few new ships, possibly an announcement of Squadron 42's release date, and potentially a lot of sleepless nights as we get closer and closer, because it's going to be busy. Thank you for listening or watching if you're on YouTube. If you want to just listen, you got a morning commute, you just want some background noise and you don't need a whole video running, you can see us on Spotify or any audio platforms. And I think they actually do video on there now too. But please, if you do enjoy the podcast, share it with your Star Citizen friends, maybe drop a review. Go check out XeroState so you can see more of what he has to say. And I'll see you all next week.